Wall Street Memes Casino,
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.
Welcome to episode 32 of Talk Smart with
Pugh.
I'm McCart. That's Joe Pugh. I'm Andrew McCart. Sunday, after a great night of fights, one in Las Vegas and obviously one in London, which you were lucky to be there to witness, in Dan Azeez and Joshua Buatsi. I was flicking between the two of them. I had one on my phone, one on the TV, and it was when you can't appreciate a fight unless you're engrossed in it. And I was trying to watch two fights at the same time. So I'll get your expert analysis on Azeez and Buatsi last night, Joe. But there was some breaking news at the middle of the week in Tyson Fury and Oleksandr Usyk, with Tyson Fury suffering that cut. I know you were going to go out there to Saudi Arabia, so a little bit gutting for yourself, but I'm sure you'll reschedule it for me the same way they've rescheduled their fight. So I'm sure you'll still go out there and enjoy that fight, Joe. But your initial reaction when you turned on Twitter or turned on Instagram and saw that the fight was off, on a personal note, you can say like you were gutted because you weren't going to go out there, but your initial reaction to finding out that news?
Yeah, well, selfishly more than anything, I was gutted that because I was about 9 days away from flying out to Saudi for the fight, and yeah, it was absolutely gutting on a Friday evening, just as you're about to go out and enjoy the weekend. It put a little bit of a dampener on things, but take away the selfish point of view, yeah, it is a shame. It's a big shame, mate. But it just feels like we was in touching distance away from it, and for something like that to happen, call it a freak accident or not, it's not really, because that's the dangers of sparring. But at the same time, need to spar. But you've got to look, mate, like these things have happened throughout the whole time, throughout history. You look at Rumble in the Jungle. I think that was what happened, 2 weeks after it was meant to go ahead. We're waiting, another 2.5 months or something, but at least it got rescheduled straight away. And I think if it weren't for the Saudis and His Excellency, I don't think we would have got it over the line so fast.
And you mentioned there, obviously, a freak accident, and it was an elbow. Like when I first saw the video, when the sparring footage got released, it did look like when he threw the sort of like a hybrid hook uppercut, it came around and followed through with whoever the sparring partner was. I can't quite remember who it was. The name of him, anyway, it surpasses me. But yeah, the elbow clipped him and cut his eye. Obviously, it's a freak accident. Tyson Fury last night on his Instagram confirmed it was the elbow that cut him on the eye. So yeah, it's a freak accident. I think the whole boxing world was gutted because we've been looking forward to this undisputed heavyweight fight for a long time. Maybe we've been looking forward to just an undisputed heavyweight champion for a long time.
Yeah.
What was it, 1999? People keep saying, and well, it was 1999, Lennox Lewis. So 25 years in the making. Do you know what I mean? So again, freak accidents happen. But there was a lot of when you go on Twitter sometimes or Instagram, you see all these conspiracy theories. I actually read one guy say that Tyson Fury's put a Stanley blade to his eye to reopen the Walling cut just so he can get out of this fight. And I'm like, come on, man. I love a conspiracy theory, Joe, but some of them are just a bit too far fetched.
Yeah, definitely. It was quite kind of sad to see the way it all played out on Friday night. I know David Hay piped up because I think 10 years ago, probably Tyson was saying the same thing about his when their fight got cancelled. But luckily, that fight got cancelled and didn't get rescheduled. This one is getting rescheduled, and it happened so fast. Within 24 hours, it's done, sorted. There's a $10 million little clause in the contract, which is absolutely wild, and I think probably just shows how much they're getting paid for it. There's more than anything to give up just the 10 mil.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think that's that little edgy bit of motivation to make sure this fight does happen May 18th. As I say, 2 weeks turn into 2 months, but at least we are getting it. And it's kind of Friday evening, I think a lot of people were worried that the fight would still happen, but the chance for undisputed may have just slipped away from him with everything that was happening with Filip Hrgović. But it looks like it has been sorted, and we will get an undisputed champion on May 18th.
Yeah, I know the Filip Hrgović talks, like he was going to step in. I think it was it Coppinger that said it, and Dan Raphael mentioned it as well. When it's almost like, although Hrgović deserves a shot at a world title, he really, really does. But after that promo the cowboy promo and all that sort of stuff, and the gladiator promo. It was an epic trailer. Do you know what I mean? And it gets you excited about the fight. And there's no point doing all that when we still want to see the fight. So waiting an extra like 2.5 months or 3 months, whatever it may be, like you said, like I'm all for that. I don't want to Usyk to fight Hrgovic, and with the possibility of slipping up against Hrgovic, and then that all disappears. And it's again, we've been wanting to see this fight for a long time. And Igis Klimas has said some brutal things to Tyson Fury. You've seen the Ariel Helwani interview, I'm sure, Joe, and Tyson's clapped back. So there's that. As boxing fans, we enjoy the stuff outside of the ring that builds the fight as well as the fight itself. It's going to be a great fight, don't get me wrong, but we enjoy that sort of stuff. And now there's a little bit more animosity there between the teams, even though there's more respect, because Usyk always gives Tyson Fury respect. He understands it was a cut, it's a freak accident, and he was very, very humble in what he said. And so we're still getting a fight, and I'm glad the Hrgovic, maybe glad's the wrong word, because I do want Hrgovic to get a shot. I don't know what the right word is, but I think we need this fight to happen. We need this fight to happen just for the sake of boxing, really. And then we do get this selfishly, again, being more selfish, like you were selfish about not going to Saudi. We need to see Joshua and Fury by the tail end of this year, hopefully. And that's what the plans are, according to His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh.
Yeah, look, I think Filip Hrgovic will be slotting in somewhere. I did read some stuff last night. Also, great announcement from Turki Al-Sheikh that we're getting Beterbiev, Bivol headline in the Matchroom 5v5. It's not part of the Matchroom 5 that on the undercard. Great fights on that, potentially involving 2 heavyweights who are out in action this weekend coming up. But yeah, all good news. It was a really crap start to the weekend, but good weekend of boxing, kind of put the cherry on top of the cake, kind of rebuilt our hopes and dreams to go into next week. And yeah, we'll go to the land of hopes and dreams, Vegas. Smooth segue, mate. I know you was watching it last night. Conor Benn went the distance with Peter Dobson. What did you make of the performance?
Yeah, it was a good performance from Ben. I think Peter Dobson, the way he was talking, and he is that sort of unknown, because I think it was 1.5 years, close to 2 years before he had fought, since he stepped in the ring. Conor Benn started fast, and the way he was hitting Peter Dobson in the first and second round, I was almost like, yeah, this is going early. He's going to get him out here. He's going to clock him, and then it's going to be a nice little stoppage win for me, so I can flick right over to the Dan Azeez Buatsi fight and enjoy that fight. But Peter Dobson, I tell you what, it was almost like he took 2 rounds, 3 rounds to maybe see what Ben has to offer, and then he was starting to step into the fight himself. He sort of clawed it back in the middle rounds, and he kept on double jabbing backhand as Ben was going back in a straight line. He was landing with the right hand, and you know what? He hit Ben a couple of times, especially with the right uppercut. But Ben showed that he's strong. I mean, we've no denying that he's tough, and he keeps talking about his DNA. Which, listen, he is from his dad, obviously, so he's got that warrior mentality, and he landed the cleaner shots against Dobson. Dobson maybe probably didn't throw as much as he should. Ben started the round fast and finished the round fast. It seems like nearly every round. The middle rounds, I think round 5 was Peter Dobson's best round in terms of hitting and getting clean shots off on Conor. But you know what? 12 rounds, another valuable learning experience for Conor, because he still is only 27, 20 odd fights, but he's stepping up the levels. And although Peter Dobson might be that unknown, there's a lot made of him sparring Boots Ennis and sparring Terence Crawford. He steps in the ring with these guys, so he has got good pedigree on that sense. But yeah, again, Conor Benn, you probably haven't seen it yet, Joe, because you were at the Buatsi and Azeez fight last night. But good performance. I mean, again, we want to see knockouts, and I think the way they were talking at the build-up to this fight, I was half expecting to see one, but nobody knew how much of a chin. I mean, Peter Dobson's made of granite. He must be made of granite, because Ben was hitting him with solid, sickening right hands, and they're almost bouncing off him. But credit to both men. Credit to Ben. He keeps on winning. And I don't know if you saw the Devin Haney tweet and the fire back from Conor Benn. Now, that's a fight I would like to see. And I'm sure it can be made. They're both on the zone, Conor, and I think, well, Devin Haney's sort of like that free agent, but yeah, it was a good good solid performance from Ben. He's been out in Vegas for so long, well, the US, so can't take nothing away from him. It was a solid performance.
Yeah, big fights now. Ones that he'll want to get up for. I know Eddie Earn after the fight said in the interview on IFL with Colm that he don't want to speak about Chris Eubank Jr. anymore. He said his final piece on that, so we'll see how that plays out. And we know Chris Eubank Sr. was very vocal about that this week in another interview, so check those two out on the channel. But yeah, I think just Conor Benn needs like something to really get in his teeth into now. He's had the 2 fights. Peter Dobson, a big step up from Roscoe, but he got that now. And I think the appeal hearing was going to be in 2 weeks' time, so that'll be a weight lifted off his shoulders if it goes his way. Don't really know too much about that, so not going to speak about it until we hear what happened, what the verdict is, and how's it going down. But yeah, big fights for Conor. Hopefully back out in relatively quick succession because he had a long time out of the ring, apart from the comeback fight.
Yeah, do you think maybe this sort of appeal process that's gone on for so long, is that playing on his mind a little bit? I mean, he spoke about again going back to the MMA hour, Ariel Helwani interview. He spoke about he was this close to taking his own life, and when you're that close to taking your own life over something that's just all the pressure's on you and stuff like that, and you think your career's on the line and you might never ever fight again. It's like, to get that close to taking your own life, it's a big substantial part of your mentality going into the future of what you want in your future endeavors. Do you know what I mean? And again, Joe, I'm going to ask the question: does this whole appeal process and waiting on the board to come back, again, it's in 2 weeks, is that playing on Conor's mind and maybe reflecting on his performances in the last 2 fights?
I don't know, because I don't think either have been particularly poor performances. I just think it's kind of impossible to say until we see him fight after the appeal process, because he may come out a different fighter. He may literally be like a weight lifted off his shoulders, which I should imagine it would be if you are constantly under scrutiny, which he is. And I know he's gone to America to kind of get away from that scrutiny, but we've all heard about the rigorous testing he's had to do, which is fantastic, by the way. Every fighter should undergo rigorous testing, but let's be honest, he's getting probably 2, 3, 4 times more than the normal person because of headlines and because of the allegations, the appeal, the adverse findings. But yeah, hopefully big fights for him. And should we move on to London, mate?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that was a fight. That was a fight,
listen,
mate.
don't get me wrong. I probably watched more of the Conor Benn fight because I was half thinking that the way Conor was landing them big shots, he was going to get him out of there. But yeah, listen, Conor Benn Dobson fight was a great fight, man. Great performance from Conor Benn. But from what I was sort of half, when I was on that Buatsi Azeez fight, I was like, wow, this is a good fight. They're both in distance, they're both in range, ready to hit each other. I'll tell you what, though, that 11th round, because the Benn fight had finished as it was going into the 11th round, and so I watched the full 11th round in that fight, and I've got to say, Azeez was very unlucky with them 2 knockdowns. I think that even though a punch landed, they would have put him down like that. His whole feet came off the ground like it was a proper slip. Do you know what I mean? Even though, again, I can see the referee, you have to maybe call it because it was a punch did land, but it wasn't enough of a punch to make him fall like that. And I don't think it was enough of a punch to even put him down on his backside. So on both occasions, but that's neither here nor there. I think maybe the right man maybe have won in Buatsi. Maybe he was a little bit more clinical in his work. But like I say, I only had half an eye on that fight because I was flicking between the two. But you were there. You were there, Joe. Just hit me with it. How good a fight was it? If somebody hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, it was really good. It was great. I think before the fight even started, really got like literally hair standing up on my back. Right, honestly, right. They've both come out and they're just staring at each other, just like shadow boxing, just eyeing each other out. It's very rare to see it like that. It was brilliant, really intense. And then they're talking to each other throughout the fight. And that canvas was very slippery in the corner. So by that time, we'd kind of moved to the back. We moved away from ringside to get ready for post-fight stuff. And from our view, which granted was quite far away, it looked like the first one was a slip, the second one wasn't. And then Virgil Hunter kind of agreed with that after the fight, and he reinforced that idea. Buatsi kind of said both of them might be a slip, but Dan Azeez didn't moan because he said, "Look, I know the rules of boxing. Lucky or unlucky, it was a slip, but as I slipped, I got punched. So they've got to give it a knockdown," which is kind of true when you put it like that. And yeah, really good fight. I can probably count on one hand the amount of times either of them even touched the ropes. They were in the middle, in range, giving it large for 12 rounds. And yeah, Battle of South London, fantastic, fantastic fight. And Dan Azeez will come again, 100% come again.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Dan Azeez. I like his story in terms of he got knocked out in the first 30 seconds of his first amateur fight, and then that can make or break you. I mean, I know a lot of young kids out of my gym that have had their first couple of fights and they've not won and they've just never come back to the gym. It's just not for them. But for him to stick around and stick at it, keep working on his craft and become British, Commonwealth, European champion, I mean, that speaks volumes to his character. But then Joshua Buatsi, we've all got high hopes for him coming out of the Olympic Games. We're always like, that's the future world champion there. It's another world champion coming out of the UK, and I think that still might be the case. I think he's in a tough division, but with this Artbiev and Bivol fight, and whether when one of them wins that undisputed crown, I'm sure they'll vacate. Because the mandatories will start coming in. Both Bivol and Bertbiev have mentioned about moving up in weight. Maybe Bertbiev's mentioned about going up to cruiserweight, and Bivol's told me when I was in Saudi Arabia he might go up to cruiserweight or maybe even step back down to super middleweight because he might not be big enough for cruiserweight. So it's wide open when you've got guys like Callum Smith, Anthony Yard, Buatsi, do you know what I mean, in the UK for these world titles, and all three of them can win one of them vacant titles if any of them do become vacant. And yeah, it's going to be exciting times come the tail end of this year, beginning of 2025, to see what that landscape looks like in that 175-pound division. And by that time, I'm pretty sure Ben Whitaker will be there or thereabouts, Joe. Listen.
Wow.
Marmite, do you know what I mean? Marmite, you either love him or you hate him because you think maybe the showboat is disrespectful. But I tell you what, to have those reflexes, like he isn't even moving his whole body, he's just looking away and he's just doing all this, and the punches just there. That's a skill set in itself, and you don't teach that. That's just you're born with that, and the guy's got it.
Yeah, he certainly has. I just think like it's weird, to be honest, right? Because he's not outside the ring. He's like a lovely, lovely guy. He's
I met him. Yeah.
If you watched him in the ring, you wouldn't think he'd be that nice, if you know what I mean. But yeah, he will be Marmite, but people will watch him. And yeah, just that performance last night, just millimeter perfect. Just every timing, the little moves, it was absolutely brilliant. Yeah, I think. Oh yeah, I absolutely love him. And there's some serious talent on that card last night, as there was in Vegas. Start off with Vegas when you got Jimmy Sainz, great knockout, George Liddard, great performance, and then Johnny Fisher absolutely steamrolling Bazous in a round. Them body shots to soften him up were sickening. Absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait for him to headline. I'll talk about London headline after his next fight on April 13th. Ammo Williams looked great.
Wow.
Love Ammo Williams. Loved him from the very, very start. And then you go over to the Sky card. Just mentioned Ben Whitaker. Caroline Dubois. Great performance from her. She wants the big fights. She's calling for the big fights. She pulled out Rhiannon Dixon and said, look, you pulled out the fight. You didn't want it. So she's looking to get a world title fight. And then Rhiannon Dixon hopefully wins her world title fight. And then unification down the line. Then you got Fran Hennessy, only 19. You talk about charisma. She has got charisma, and she's also got great talent against a really horrible, horrible journeywoman to fight who did not come to fight, but great learning rounds for her. It was a fantastic night of boxing, and some excellent talent displayed from the Brits in the ring last night.
I agree, and I think I watched Jimmy Sainz knockout. He's very, very he doesn't rush his work, which I like to see from a young fighter. Do you know what I mean? And his first 2 stoppage victories came a little bit soft in his own opinion in terms of the referee stepping in from a journeyman who's got tight guard. He hasn't got that clinical knockout. I think he got it last night, but even to his own admission, he wasn't too happy with it. He wants an even more clinical knockout. I don't know if you've seen the knockout, Joe. I thought that was probably as clinical as it can get. But in his post-fight interview, he said he hinted at the fact that he maybe wasn't as satisfied. He probably wants a more clinical one. And then you go into George Liddard. What is he, 20? What, 21, 20?
I think he's 21 now, George, yeah.
Again, for a young man to be patient, calculated, didn't want to rush his work, because he was in against an unbeaten opponent, an unknown opponent who was long and rangy. It was tough as well. You know, these guys, he was just a tough guy. He was landing clean, but it was bouncing off his chin. But he never rushed his work. Didn't want to get in there and try and blow him out there. He thought, you know what, you can take my shots. Let me see what else I can do. And he had 6 rounds and he figured them out and he won quite handsomely. And then Johnny Fisher, I mean, he's called the Romford Bull because when he fights, I think it's because he's like a bull in a china shop. He just smashes everything, whether it be the body, the head, and he doesn't miss, even though he's winding with his shots. He doesn't miss with his shots.
He's calm as well. He don't go rushing in. He kind of relaxes his shoulders and waited for that right opportunity. He don't just go steaming in. But when he does unload, he is the bull.
Yeah. And I mean like a bull in a china shop. I don't mean like he's hectic and he just swings from it's just craziness. No, he just smashes everything up. Your rib cage, your arms, your head, your shoulders, your forearms, your biceps. He'll punch everything and anything until he lands one on your chin or on your rib cage. But yeah, solid performance from him. I think maybe 2 more fights, and then we can get him in with these guys. Those maybe Wardleys, Adelays, Solomon Dakers. Maybe they guys that are probably coming up for that British. They're chasing that Wardley. But I think he's got 2 more fights left in him before we can start saying, right, get him in with the Solomon Dakers of these worlds, maybe even the Fraser Clarks of these worlds, maybe even the Fabio Wardleys, the David Adelays. Do you know what I mean? Let's get him in with them and let's see what he can do. And I think, give him 2 more fights, give him till maybe October, November, December time this year, and then chuck him in a big fight, a big British fight, whether it be for a vacant British title, the English heavyweight title, who knows? I just want to go back to the Ben Whittaker fight quickly because something that impressed me, Joe, and you wouldn't have heard it. His corner basically said to him, I think, what was the stoppage in the 5th round?
5th, yeah.
Right, after the 4th round, his corner basically said to him, listen, that's enough now. Get him out there.
Yeah.
Right, he says, like, you've had your fun, almost like this. He said, get him out there, step up the gas, and let's get him out there. It's time to get him out. And like that, he done exactly what his corner did. And that's what I like about him, Joe. We spoke about Johnny Fisher, the way he fights. They're all different fighters, the way they approach the game. But with Ben, he's just went like, you know what? Time to switch it up. I've had my fun. I've entertained the crowd. Now let me get my job done. And that's exactly what he's done. So great performance from him. And it was a great night for boxing. So I'm actually, I'm actually excited for the future.
Yeah, 100%, mate. We've got another good week of boxing coming up. You got Dylan Bellotti on the next gen card at the O2 Indigo. That's a matchroom card. There's some good fights in that. Craig Richards returns to action after a long time out, and I think there could be a very, very big fight for him potentially lined up. And then about 15 minutes down the road, also in London at the Copper Box, you've got Hamza Shiraz versus Liam Williams, and that is a stat card with Anthony Yard on the card. So light heavyweight British action keeps rolling. And I'm sure I will speak to you next week, Andy, when we talk all about it.
Definitely, mate. Listen, whatever show you're at, enjoy it.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll tune in next week for I've just looked outside my window there. I've got a Amazon delivery just coming there, so I better go and answer this door. Enjoy that. enjoy that fight week next week, Joe, and keep smashing it, brother. And I'll see you next week.
See you, mate. Enjoy your parcel.
Wall Street Memes Casino
I'm fine.
and Sportsbook.